Hi everyone, welcome to another one of my exposure response prevention videos that I use to treat my choking phobia. Today I'm having the pizza that I had yesterday, and so my anxiety level before, that's how the video is going to go. So my anxiety level before, do the exposure anxiety level after. My anxiety level before is, I'm just really hungry. My anxiety level is like, it feels like, yeah, it's like, I don't know. It's like 10 out of 100. Do the exposure now. Sorry guys, I'm not like, what do you call it, doing a response I want to prevent. I'm actually, an idea came to me. I'm going to write down my thoughts. So I'm trying to find something to write down with. There we go. Because I feel like I have a lot of thoughts that are kind of going haywire. I'm just gonna write them down. I'm not gonna comment on them. I heard from another YouTuber, a good idea is to actually write them down and then kind of like throw them out. Like write down your thoughts or write down your thought record. Maybe I'll get into that a bit later. It's not really what my intention is at the moment. It's not what I want to do. But I just had this idea, and I've been having it many, many times while I've been doing it. Just write down your thoughts. So, I'm trying my best while I'm doing the exposure. After the exposure, I'll have more of a better list in terms of what I want to, right? Hopefully accomplish these thoughts. So the exposure has finished. It's just a big psychological way of saying I'm done eating. And I have some thoughts I wanted to write down. Before I do that, I wanted to share with you guys. Before I do that, I just wanted to quickly rate my anxiety now. Now, there's the anxiety you feel because you don't have to do a certain thing that you wanted to do that was going to make you anxious. But there's also the anxiety you feel when you realize that anxious thing is making you less anxious over and over again. And that's the anxiety you want to focus on. The other anxiety where it's like, oh, now I've done my task. That's making me anxious provoking. That's good, but it's also an unhealthy coping mechanism because you really should be staying with the anxiety and not just relying on your previous experiences. That should kind of be like more instinctual and habitual, not like, oh, I'm consciously aware I'm not going to be as anxious because of some action I'm doing. That's not the best way, but I guess you might see some decrease in anxiety. I don't recommend it. Better ways to focus on now that the anxiety has kind of done. How are you feeling? What was the lowest number you can come up with while you were swallowing, while you were eating, while you were out in the park, while you were doing whatever makes you anxious? So the lowest number I could come up with, the lowest I was getting, the numbers I was getting, it was like a 5 out of 100. So it went down from 10 to 5. So you'll notice that every time, the anxiety going down. Next thing we're going to do is talk about my thoughts and images during my exposure and response prevention therapy. This will be fun. Just gonna quickly go upstairs, go to my car, put my shoes on. I'll say some of these thoughts, but honestly, I won't say any of these thoughts. What I'll do instead is just talk about maybe my plans for the day and what I'm planning to do later today. I plan on working later today. I also want to share something with you that I believe is somewhat special. In terms of I've never really spoken to a lot of people about it, but that'll be at the end. So this will probably be an hour-long video. It'll probably go all the way for another hour. For another 20, 25, 30 minutes. Bear with me, put my shoes on. Still here. Taking a water. And so basically I said every thought I was having sequentially. So hold on, I'll say this when I get in the car. Hold on a second, guys. 1 second. Sorry, I'm not a very good editor, and I don't know if I'm ever going to become a good editor. But I'm definitely a good content creator. So guys, getting set up here. So first thing I want to get out of the way is thank you for continuing to watch my videos. I know no one does, but you know what? I'm hopeful someone will. And I'm not really looking forward for the views, but they're obviously interesting. What I'm really looking forward to is helping someone. Helping someone who stumbles upon my videos and realizes, oh wow, this guy has the same weird, a sort of anxiety I do. I don't like eating lost a lot of weight and all these things happen. And he'll see that this is kind of a way forward from instead of just feeling anxious and skipping meals. With that out of the way, and my exposure out of the way, let's talk about my thoughts and images during my exposure and response prevention therapy. Obviously, the first one, I'm choking. Big surprise there, everybody. That was the first thought. Okay. So as I said, I want to begin by saying these thoughts were sequential. It's literally as soon as the thought came in my head, I tried my best to write it down as legibly as I could. And obviously, I've used some names of different people, so I want to keep the privacy. Second thought is person A in our old house. He was an uncle, a family friend, kind of like a distinctive Muslim personality. And so the thought after that was, because that was like an image, the thought after that was like comfort. The thought was stay with it. The thought was good, happy. So you see where I'm going with this, right? Let me get into some more interesting thought. Like, not interesting, but maybe not as on the same track. Thoughts like, my food has some small particle in it that will choke me. Right? Because as you can see here, I ripped the pages out of the journal, and there's small hairs and particles you can see. So I think that because it was so close to my food, some of it got on my food or in my drink, and I will eat it and swallow it. Which, doesn't even take into account that if I was to eat such a small piece of paper, I won't necessarily choke. You might even just taste it while you're eating it and spit it out, or you might just eat it and just, pass it like normally. So it's just a little piece of paper, right? Next thought. I'm holy. And then I say in parentheses, I know this is a delusional thought. See, as I told you guys before, I sometimes do suffer from, I have OCPD with like a religious subtype, but I also sometimes suffer from like, I don't want to say delusions, but I wrote down I'm holy, and in parentheses, I know this is a delusional thought. So it's like I'm kind of aware that some of my thoughts are delusional. So I don't really have delusions, but I can have delusional thoughts. That's something I'll get into. Or what I mean to say is that's maybe because I haven't been taking my medication regularly. I've just kind of been here and there. I know it sounds like a hypocrite. I'm big into therapy. I'm taking medication. It's just the medication I take for my mental health is called Seroquel. And Seroquel, if you guys have heard of it, it's kind of like a sleep aid. It helps people sleep. It knocks them out. And so sometimes when you want to like stay up late, you obviously don't want to take it because you're going to just spend the 2 hours kind of being distracted and kind of like staying awake from the pill just to keep your thoughts okay. And they say I do it, they say it's for my hallucinations, but I take it mostly to eat because it increases my appetite. Whatever, mi casa su casa, whatever, right? I don't care at this point. Next thought I had was reading the Quran. Okay. That took me back to, I'm just going to go through these sequentially. Then reading books and seeing a parentheses in a passage and wondering if you're caught the end parentheses. So let's go through these thoughts. So from reading the Quran, I used to read the Quran a lot on the internet. So I would read it in the English translation while an Arabic reciter was reciting it. Quran is the holy book of Islam, everyone doesn't know. We've been living under a rock. And so basically, that was a thought, an image that came to my mind while I was doing this. And then another one was that I used to read a lot. I don't anymore, and I'm trying to get back into it, but I used to read like basically all day because I had no job. I was suffering from depression. I used to just listen to music and read all day. And sometimes when you read, you realize that in passages there's like a parenthesis. So it's like Daniel walked down a hill, and then in parentheses, the hill was 5 feet from his friend's house who just had cancer 5 years ago and is now recovering from a hospital, in parentheses. And then you go, as you walk down the hill, he remembered his friend. You know what I mean? And the parentheses, sometimes, I don't know if it's dyslexia because I don't have dyslexia, but sometimes you miss when the author closes the parentheses in a book. And so you think he's still going with the parentheses. And so that was a thought that was going through my head, like, did I miss something? Why is this not making sense? So I have to reread it. Next thought or image during my exposure and response mention therapy, sequentially, is Allah is the light of the heavens and the earth. That is a Quranic passage, a verse from the Quran, a very holy verse. It's called the verse of light. The entire verse is أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الله لا إله إلا هو التعقد سنة ولا نوم له ما في السماوات وما في الأرض من ذا الذي يشفع عنده إلا بإذنه يعلم ما بين أيديهم وما خلفهم ولا يحيطون بشيء من علمه إلا بما شاء وسع كرسيه السماوات والأرض ولا يؤوده حفظهما وهو العلي العظيم. It basically translates into, I seek refuge in God from Satan the cursed. God is the light of the heavens and the earth. And then Allah is the light of the heavens and the earth. Who is there that can intercede in his presence except by his permission? His throne doth extend over the heavens and the earth. And he is like the most powerful, the most wise. I'm sorry, I don't have a Quran, but that's kind of like the gist of it. Some of it might be wrong, but that's basically the verse of light. Next thought I had was stay with it. Which obviously is my closing thing I say on all my videos. Something I heard from a therapist while I was watching the television show Obsessed. He was really helping. It really helped, I think, to hear that from I think him to me while I was watching the show. Maybe it helped the people who are getting the therapy at the same time. I'm not sure, but just that whole idea of staying with it in terms of like staying with the anxiety, not running away from it, but just being eagerly ready to anticipate it, like a duck hunt almost. Like you're doing a duck hunt, you know, like on Mario Bros. And you do the duck hunt and you wait until the duck is in the right position and boom. You don't just like not shoot the duck, right? Maybe I just shoot the hunter a lot, or the dog. You know what I mean? You say, okay, you got the gun, which is the ERP therapy. The duck is the anxiety, and you don't just not shoot. You shoot. You get ready, and you embrace it. You embrace the anxiety. That's what I mean by stay with it. Another one here is, I thought this one was funny. I'll be reading these out later, is the next thought I had. So a bit of like, oh, I'm better not act crazy, or a bit of just self-awareness, self-consciousness, like, you know, with these thoughts. Next thought is, I don't trust person A. Okay, so I'm just going to leave that for privacy reasons. But just a person. I don't trust person A. Next thought coming to my brain sequentially was, I need to take my medication. Okay. Next thought is, how does one think and not think at the same time? Okay. I remember this distinctly while I was chewing the food a lot. I was about to swallow it. So how does one think and not think at the same time? I'm not big into philosophy, but these are interesting questions that, you know, if I get an answer, cool, but I'm not going to like, it's just one of those things you think about, right? Like, hey, think about. Next one is, what? In response to me forgetting something, So I remembered something, forgot it, and then my thought was what? Like, what was it? Okay. Next song is me thinking of the song Things We Lost in the Fire and humming the tune Things We Lost in the Fire, which is a song by Bastille. Next one is I want to eat. Then the next one is eat. You know, pretty self-explanatory there. And the next one is the primordial world before God. And then the last thought is black spots. These are my thoughts that were coming through my mind while I was doing this exposure response prevention therapy. You know, some of them seem very interesting, some of them seem not make any sense. As you can see, there is this dichotomy I'm feeling, it's just coming to my mind right now, between the religion and my, in a way, psychology. Right, between my religion and the psychology. Because religion says you really shouldn't be anxious. I read a book that said one chooses to be anxious. And, you know, it really made me think until I read more about psychology and how it made me think that you can't really choose to be anxious, but you can choose to face your anxiety. And if you do that, in a way, you'll kind of not choose to be anxious because it's kind of like a byproduct of choosing to face your anxiety. In the long run, you won't be anxious. Really thirsty, sorry. Of course, some of the thoughts were not just psychologically based, some were based in religion, some Quranic verses and whatnot. And it's just, you know, I'm Muslim, so I do find that comforting, I guess, coming to my mind. Same with the whole person who was at the house, the whole comfort, like a family friend. These are things that, you know, I went to his funeral, actually. He passed on about a year ago, I think, and Yeah, I could have been much closer to him, but I was fairly familiar with him, and it was he was fairly close, I would say. So we talk about that. I mean, I it's one of my thoughts. So let's think here. Those are I think to actually write your thoughts down simultaneously while doing the exposure was hard. I wish there was some way someone could just write them down as soon as I think them, like telepathically or somehow with hand signals, American Sign Language. That'd be a really good idea. Or somehow I have Morse code that I'm transmitting as I'm doing my eating. So I could tell them I'm just doing this while I'm eating. So, or like sign language, you know. I am choking, but not really. It's just a thought. I'm sorry, I don't know sign language. So that's that. Well, now I'm gonna, just before I get into the concluding part of the video, what I'm gonna do now is talk about basically like my plans for the future. As I've said many times, I've kind of, you know, got off disability and I need to start working again, and I want to do that. The problem is, you know, it's hard for me to wake up at like 7 to get ready for like 8 or 9, and then, you know, my first shift could be at like 10 in the morning, 10:30. It's really hard to get ready really early for me, and I don't know if it's because that's basically what it is. I just don't know how to get ready early in the morning. Like, it's not something I've really been a part of in terms of like, it's not something I learned how to do. Because when I came into high school here, like in New York, I used to get up early, but that was a long time ago. I used to live in New York, and they would get us up really early. Like the bus would like have to be there at 6:45, and the bus would be there at 6:45. So we'd have to get ready 5:30, 5:20, you know, to get there for the bus. And school starts at 7:30 in the morning. You have your breakfast or whatever, hang around for a bit, and then school starts at 7:30. And it would end at 2. Here, when I moved here, it was much different because I was in a higher grade. I was about to graduate. So they let me take my own courses, and sometimes my classes wouldn't start until like 10, right? And then I would be done after like 3 hours, be done at like 2 or something. So that kind of, I did that for about 2 years because I had to repeat grade 12 because I kind of struggled. Because I just stopped caring, I stopped going to class. And so I ended up failing, obviously. And so I took those courses again. That's how I kind of had this weird schedule. It was like first period off, then 2, 3, 4, and then 5th period off, and basically no lunch. And I kind of got habituated to that, especially after summer vacation too. Like, I kind of like always woke up in summer vacation around 12. And it wasn't really frowned upon in my family. It was just kind of like, oh yeah, he's waking up crack of noon, whatever. It's the weekend or it's summer, it's all right. But for the most part, that was something I would not do. The only problem is the school year, it was so like small for me. It was only 3-4 hours of the day, that it was only like half my day. So I could get away with like even missing the first period if I wanted to, but I wouldn't. But it would just be so much more relaxed because I would be done my school at 3 after waking up at 10 or at 9, you know, and I would just have so much free time. I just didn't know what to do with it. So a lot of times after school, I just go back home and sleep, or I just go back home and kind of like be on the edge of sleep, where it's kind of like I'm watching TV and just kind of like, you know, I'm just waiting to go to sleep. So that's kind of how my routine was in high school years. And then when university started, where it got much worse, because I kind of had my own schedule completely by myself. I went to school downtown, had my own schedule, my own car, my own bus, you know, tokens and whatnot. I could come and go anytime I wanted to. For example, I could go to school, you know, I would go at like 10 or 11 or 12 and then come back at 2, and then, you know, maybe have another class at 4 or 5, and, you know, or I might stay down there for a while. But there was a lot of time, you know, in university, to that adjustment from high school to university. You realize there's a lot of time that you have where you're not actually in class, but just because you're supposed to be studying for class, either the class that you did or the class coming up. It's kind of like more high pressure that way. It's like deadlines, and it was really hard for me to kind of adjust to that. I just thought, oh yeah, no class, let's party. But it should have been more like, oh yeah, no class, when's my next class? Can I find a desk in the library to kind of just review the notes that I took, or read ahead, or focus on my essay or something, right? To be more successful. That would have been nice. So the concluding part of this video. As I told you guys in the beginning, there's something I wanted to tell you at the end. I haven't really shared with anybody. Maybe one person. I want to quit marijuana. I didn't want to smoke marijuana today. I said to myself, I'm not going to smoke it. I'm not going to smoke cigarettes. I'm going to stop. But where is this coming from? I didn't smoke a lot of marijuana in high school. Like in New York, I was told I smoked a little bit. And, maybe I did smoke a little bit, but not too much. It wasn't until last year high school in Canada that I turned 19. And so that's when you could get the alcohol. And a lot of kids back then, when they have the alcohol, everyone's got a joint passing around. It's high school, right? Grade 12ers, they have their joints. They love their weed. You have a lot of stoners in grade 12. And so obviously when we run the same circles, we meet people, someone has weed and they're sparking it up, so you try it, and you're like, oh, it's like the greatest thing. You forget, because from New York to here, I didn't smoke weed for a long period of time because I didn't have any friends when I moved here. I would say at least 4 months I didn't smoke weed, and that was kind of like a good cleaning out of my process, where I just kind of like have no friends. Me and my brother, would kind of just, just kind of walk around, try to make friends, and we didn't really realize who people were. It wasn't until the school year started, we started making friends, and we realized the party situation and whatnot. And it didn't help that our school, our house was literally across the street from the school. It was literally across the street. Like I could see the signs for the school. I could see the classrooms from my house, from my room. It's pretty weird. It's comforting now, think about it. That you can see your school from basically the comfort of your room. I just found that it was comforting because it's not like an alien thing. Like there's no thing about waking up for the bus like I had to. In New York, I lived at least 3 miles from the school, across a bridge, and it was just so much of a hassle to get bussed every day. Anyway, so I wanted to quit smoking weed because what happened was I smoked a little weed, got a little drunk back in the day, like everyone usually does. And then when I started getting to high school, I kind of used weed to kind of cope. University. When I got to university, I started using weed to cope with the stress of university. And since I didn't really have a lot of other people to fall back on who were trying to help me make friends, it was all kind of myself. I had trouble making friends, kind of helped make me more anxious and nervous. And of course, I was socially anxious. I had undiagnosed social phobia at that time. And it wasn't helping, so I kind of got more depressed. And eventually I kind of said, screw this stuff. I converted to Islam, and Islam prohibits this, marijuana. So that's when I kind of was clean for a good period of time, 6-7 months. And I relapsed. I was diagnosed with addiction behavior, cannabis dependence. And so I was all clean and not clean, clean and not clean. And there were times where I feel like when I'm clean, I kind of get into this thing where I become thinking it's wrong to be gay. And I don't know how the two really come together. Through my faith, I would assume. And then the opposite would happen when I would, smoke weed. I would think it's wrong to think that it's wrong to be gay. So it's okay to be gay. And it's just really weird because you end up with these dichotomous, almost schizophrenic personalities. Because it's whatever you do, you want to do perfect. That's what I'm thinking. My borderline personality disorder, where you're detail-oriented, obsessive, everything has to be perfect, a list, rigid rules, uncompromising. It's kind of like that. If I'm going to be a Muslim, I'm going to be the best Muslim. Even though I'm gay, I'm going to say homosexual. I'm right. And then if I'm not that, if I end, then there has to be some sort of antithetical, right, substance to my thoughts where I have to be antithetical to what I was thinking before. So like, smoke weed, it's okay to be gay. And to find that balance is really hard for me. So I end up not even trying and just fall into one shell or the other. And that's what I want to do right now. I want to fall into my shell. And that's what I'm kind of struggling with. I haven't really been telling people. I don't really want to smoke weed. But I was thinking about going to a meeting. I discovered that after going to a meeting, from someone very close to me, I went to a meeting with them, and I realized I was an addict just for cigarettes. I was an addict for cigarettes. Like, I would smoke cigarettes, and I realized addiction is addiction because I realized the first person who came on the stage was a former cigarette smoker. She's on the stage, and I instantly started judging her. I was like, you're fat, and that's why you are quitting smoking. You're compensating with food. I judged her off the bat. I thought, oh, this was weird. Why are you guys chanting these weird things like you can do it, and if it works, if you let it, and all these weird things? Like, I was like, is this like? First I thought, is this a cult? And then I thought, oh, what is it? Is this like a secular religion? And then I realized it was NA. It was AA, right? So after the first meeting, as I was leaving, thought to myself, I am an addict. There's no doubt about it. Addiction is addiction, whether it's cigarettes, food, sex, alcohol, or narcotics, or anything else. It's an addiction. And that's when I kind of resolved to kind of quit smoking. And I tried many, many times. I quit many, many times, and I've relapsed many, many times. And kind of the impetus of all my marijuana is because of something related to that's against my smoking. For example, I don't want to smoke because it's addiction, but it's also because it's un-Islamic, right? So I would stop smoking, and then I would also like say it's wrong to be gay. Okay? Then I would start smoking and say it's okay to be gay. So it's like, do you understand? Like, I kind of, it's hard to explain, where it's like, you know what you want. It's like, so because of that, like, I'm not sure, but like, basically, it's like a dichotomous thoughts. You get it? So when I realized, okay, I want to quit smoking because I'm an addict, I quit smoking, and then I also kind of, then I realized slowly that it's wrong to be, gay. So I say that's wrong as well, and I quit gay. I literally thought it was something that can be unlearned. At one point, I thought you could just, if you think about girls a lot, and you kind of like, if you have like a girl wallpaper on your computer, and you think one day you'll get married, and all these people who say these things, it's just kind of like, don't think about it. It's wrong. It's dirty. It's foolish. I don't know, right? You have these weird thoughts, but then those thoughts would only come when I would not smoke. When I would smoke, those thoughts would come back. Like, what are you talking about? Go, be this way. It's free, natural, peace and love. So that's the struggle I've been having with the marijuana, and the problems with my, I guess, having to come to terms with my sexuality. So this is a long video. It's been 50 minutes. Wow. Anything else I want to talk about? Might as well shoot for the hour, eh? Well, let's see what else to talk about. Well, I live in Canada, and we have the federal elections coming up, so I'll just wrap it up with this, I guess. We have the Liberals, we have the Conservatives, and we have the Green Party, and then we have the Separatists, the Bloc Québécois. Those are the four main parties. it's usually either been liberal or conservative wins, and we have a parliament, so it's not like president. It's kind of like you have to have enough seats in the parliament, and that's different than direct election of popular votes for the executive. And so we hopefully the liberals will get enough people in the parliament. I'm liberal. You know, I like the liberal policies of open immigration and multiculturalism and helping the poor and all that stuff, right? The conservatives, they're more like the opposite. They're like less immigration, less multiculturalism, and let's help the rich. And I like the liberals because they like to help the environment. I know they're corrupt right now with Trudeau, but just the fact that they're liberals means something still, okay? And I vote for them simply for that reason. And there's people out there that are undecided and I would say this guy's an idiot or a crackpot. Well, you're an idiot or a crackpot, because just the fact that a liberal government exists in a Western country, automatic yes. And I'm thinking to myself, well, what does that mean? Doesn't that mean that like people like should just vote for Hillary Clinton because she has a, you know, excuse my French, a vagina, right? And you saw how that went. Well, you know what? They should have, because America was ready for a woman president, and she actually did win. If you look back at the vote. Yeah, it's called the vote. It's not called the popular vote. It's called the vote. If you look back at the vote, Clinton won. Anyway. So, yeah, I don't want to get into the orange mess. I want to get into the pig. That's for another day. So, yeah, I really found it. And then I decided to date my thoughts in time, but I don't know if I'm going to do that again. I might just, because these are very off-the-cuff thoughts, or just something I was told to kind of like keep like a thought record by different people, and I really knew how to do one, so now it's just me. This is my thought record, basically, right? And yeah, so this is gonna be my video. I'm gonna end it here. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Remember, you guys can do it, and stay with it.